Okay, our last topic in this unit is buying and selling foreign exchange or foreign money. So it's something you're definitely going to want to know about if you're going to travel overseas, and I expect most of you would want to do that. So you need to understand how foreign exchange works, and because each country has its own money, so it's important to know this. So currency is just the money that a particular country uses. In Australia, obviously it's Australian dollars. There's different currency exchange rates that are quoted, and we're going to work with a few. So there's a buying rate, which is the rate used to exchange foreign currency for Australian dollars. So in other words, the amount it would cost us to buy foreign currency with Australian dollars, and it includes a commission by the bank or the business, whoever is exchanging it, because it's not just banks that do this. The selling rate is what you would get for your foreign dollars to convert it back to Australian dollars when you arrive back in the country. Again, it includes a commission. And then there's a mid rate, which is the real exchange rate between the two. It's usually calculated by averaging the buying and selling. Doesn't usually include commission or anything like that, but it's an important one, and it's often the rate that is used to work out how much of a particular currency you might have. Okay, let's look at a few examples. So on a particular day, the exchange rate or the mid rate for the Australian dollar, AUD, and the American dollar, USD, is 1 Australian dollar equals 0.8455 US dollars. So let's just talk about that a little bit. So those 3-letter codes that are after each one, AUD and USD, is the way of differentiating the different dollars. Every currency has its own 3-letter code, so it is clear which currency you are talking about, because we're both working with dollars. So obviously Australian dollars are worth a different amount to US dollars, and it's for lots of different reasons. It's based on the demand for the currency. It's based on how well the economy of the particular country is performing. It's really complex, and it's not something we have to go into here, but each one is worth different amounts of money. So obviously if you convert it to a different currency, you're going to have different amount than you might have started with. So in this case, we're told that 1 Australian dollar, for every one of those, we're only going to get 84.55 US cents. So less than 1 US dollar. So it wants us to work out, if we have 5,000 Australian dollars, what is that worth in US dollars? And we're going to use the exchange rate to do that. And if we had 5,000 US dollars, how many Australian dollars would we get for that? And we're just going to use the mid rate here. We're not going to use any of the buy and sell rates. So let's work on each one. So for our first one, our exchange rate is quoted in Australian dollars, and we're working with Australian dollars. So because it is quoted in the same amounts, so the exchange rate here is stated in US dollars. Australian dollars. 1 Australian dollar equals a certain amount of money. So in this case, we just need to multiply. You need to figure out what you're working with and where you want to end up before you understand what to do. So 5,000 Australian dollars in this case is going to be 5,000 times that US dollar rate. For every one of those dollars, we're going to get 0.8455 US dollars, or 4,227.50 US dollars. It is really important that you put the currency code there, because otherwise it would be assumed it's the currency of the country you are in. So we're only going to get 4,227.50 US dollars for our 5,000 Australian dollars. Maybe not so good. All right, part B, 5,000 US dollars. So we've got 5,000 US dollars. We need to figure out how much that's going to be in Australian dollars. So if we think about it logically, we're going to end up with more Australian dollars than US dollars, because each one of our dollars is worth less. So if we've got, it's going to take more Australian dollars to get 5,000 US dollars. So let's work through this one. 8455 US dollars. So that's just the exchange rate. So that's the way it's stated now, but we need to know how much $1 US would give us in Australian dollars. know how much $1 is in Australian dollars. So in this case, we are going to divide our exchange rate. So we multiplied because it was quoted in Australian dollars. This time we need to divide by that exchange rate because we need to get our equation to the point where we've got $1 in it. So I'll show you what that looks like. So this is just the exchange rate re-quoted. Now we need to do something to this to get our US dollar to have a 1 in front of it. So to do that, we are going to divide by that number that's in front of it. And remember, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to both. So let's simplify this. So 0.8455 divided by 0.8455 equals 1. $1. That's what we want. Now we need to do the sum on the other side. 1 divided by 0.8455 means that that is 1827 Australian dollars. So all we've done here is convert the exchange rate so that we now know, oh, it vanished. We now know that $1 is going to give us, oh, wrong one. $1 is going to give us 1.1827 Australian dollars. So now that we've got it like that, we just need to multiply like we did before. So converting it this way is probably the easiest way to do it. So 5,000 US dollars times the exchange rate, 1827 Australian dollars, equals 5,000 US dollars. So do the sum, 5914 Australian dollars, and it's rounded, it's approximate, it's never going to be exact, is 5,000 US dollars. So that is one way we can do it. Another way you could do this is just divide by the US dollar rate. So you could just divide by the US dollar rate. But if you're going to do that, you really do need to understand why you are doing it. So you pick one that makes the most sense to you, but it's important that you understand why you are doing that. So we're converting the US dollars to Australian dollars. It's a very similar way, but one of those methods might make more sense to you, and you need to try them and you need to practice. Okay, any problems with that? Please see me in class. Now, the last example I want to do is use the exchange rates table on page 313 in your textbook to calculate how much you would get for the following. So A, B, C, and D. Now, you've got a whole lot of different rates quoted, so you're going to need to decide which rate to use. Well, it kind of depends. Okay, so here's some rules that work. So when you're going from Australian dollars to another currency, use the selling rate because you are selling your Australian dollars to get another currency. When you are going from another currency to Australian dollars, you're going to use the buying rate. So it kind of depends on how they are quoted, but the way our rates are quoted, this is the way that is going to work. So we are going to buy Australian dollars from another currency for the second one. So let's work through each one. So we've got 5,000 Australian dollars and we want to get US dollars. So we are going to use the rate 1 Australian dollars equals 0.8261 US dollars. That is the rate that we need to use because we are going from 5,000 Australian dollars to another currency. We're going to use the selling rate. So 5,000 Australian dollars. So the method is exactly the same as we did in the first one. It's really just determining which rate to use here. For 130.50 US dollars. So our 5,000 Australian dollars is going to get us only $4,130.50 in US dollars. Now, next one is we've got 5,000 US dollars in Australian dollars, so we're going the other way, so we're obviously going to use the other rate. 8649 US dollars. So same method as we used in the last problem. It's really just picking the right rates here. So the method is no different. 0.8649 divided by 0.86, 49, not 94. 4949. So the goal here is to get that number in front of the US dollar to be 1. 1 times 5,000 is 5,000. So what that is going to give us is 5,781 Australian dollars is the same as 5,000 US dollars. All right, C. 2,400 Australian dollars in Japanese yen. So we need the rate 99.99 Japanese yen. No methods are any different once you've picked the right rate. But notice I keep writing that 3-digit code. It's really, really important that you do that. Don't miss that out at all, because it needs to be clear what you are saying. So 2,400 Australian dollars is 239,976 Japanese yen at that exchange rate, and 630 GBP, Great British Pounds, in Australian dollars. So the rate we need is 0.4404 Great British Pounds equals 1 Australian dollar. Great British Pounds times 630. Woo. 630 Australian dollars. We're not quite there. We need to just have 630 Great British Pounds on this side, so we need to get rid of that exchange rate. So we need to divide both sides by that. It's going to be around 1,431 Australian dollars, which is about right. Okay, so any questions, let me know. You need to work through these. Exchange rates definitely form part of it, and you need to make sure you understand it well. All right, see you in class.